When muscle aches or arthritis pain grip you, break the grip with odor-free Aspercreme. Maximum strength medicine clinically proven to relieve muscle and joint pain fast with no odor, so all you notice is relief. Aspercreme. Break the grip of pain.
The performance review, that corporate trial by fire when every slacker gets his due. And yet, there's someone around the office who hasn't had a performance review in a while. Someone whose poor performance is slowing down the entire organization. I'm looking at you, phone company DSL.
Go to ComcastBusiness.com/check-your-speed. If we can't offer faster speeds or save you money, we'll give you $150. Comcast Business. Built for business.
5 screenings for $149. Call now at 800-393-7147.
The wildest weather ever caught on camera.
Oh my God!
Tonight, tomorrow night, every weeknight. Wild Weather at 8 on the Weather Channel.
It's 53 minutes after the hour, time for the Tropical Update, and here we have something special here to show you today here in the lab. And what it is, we've taken the satellites from all over the world. We've taken them from Europeans and the Indians and 2 American satellites, and we've put them together on the Earth, and we have a special new globe here in the lab, and here it is. Watch it here as it comes out of the floor, and look, we can actually see these satellites as they come together. We're looking at the other side of the world now, and you see that seam kind of right down the middle, right by the tropical storm? That's the seam between the Indian satellite and the American satellite, and right there near that seam is tropical storm Fenghuang. Fenghuang means phoenix in Chinese because the Chinese in Hong Kong actually contributed that name, and that tropical storm is going to dump a lot of rain in eastern China near Shanghai and then move up toward Japan, but it is not expected to be a threat. Look just below that, and you'll see there that there's another area of disturbed weather. Another developing typhoon is expected there. All right, spin the world around to our side of the world here, and you see the Pacific Ocean and you see the Atlantic. Only 2 systems of note at the moment in the Pacific. One is what was Tropical Storm Polo. Now it's dying out. Another is an Invest, and we're going to watch that for signs of development. More on both of those in just a moment. All right, let's talk about the Atlantic first. Of course, that's here close to home, and there you see, take a look at the water vapor here where we can see the systems in the Atlantic, and there you see this. Couple of things to notice here. One is right here in the Gulf of Mexico. There's the Gulf. Look at this big dip in the jet stream here, and look at these winds screaming over Florida and off the East Coast. What that's telling you is nothing tropical is going to develop in the short term as long as those strong winds are over the Gulf of Mexico. We also look here in the middle of the Atlantic, and we see this big dip out here. Now, that's providing a block, so anything that might come along is going to be blocked from getting over to our part of the Atlantic. So what that's telling you is the Atlantic is not in play here for right now. All right, let's look at close up on both of these here as we go ahead and hit that for me if you would, Sean, and let's put this into motion here. All right, here you see the dip in the jet stream there causing the unfavorable conditions here and the slightly favorable conditions here right ahead of this dip here. But of course, as I said, even if something gets in here into that slightly favorable area, and it's only slightly favorable because notice the dry here, that's dry air in the oranges, just a little bit of a sliver of possibility, but it's going to get blocked here before it can get over to our side of the world. That's today. Now let's move into the future here and watch as we go next Monday. Now it's a week from now, and there, look, mostly unfavorable out here, just that tiny little sliver possible, but still a big block. But over the Gulf of Mexico, things become somewhat more favorable, So beginning next week, we're going to start looking there in the Gulf of Mexico. And here's the Gulf right now. Remember we looked at that big dip in the jet stream coming down here? And look, it's driving a cold front all the way down into the Gulf and putting dry air there. So it's going to take a while for the air to moisten and conditions to improve. We think maybe next week, something to watch. Now, this hurricane season obviously has been slow. One way to measure that is what we call the ACE, the accumulated cyclone energy. And in other words, how much energy has Mother Nature produced this year? And you see we're down here well below average, the average being a number of 72. We're down only about half of that this year. And look, there was a kind of a bunch of years where we were well above average, and here was a bunch of years where we were mostly below average. Are we entering an era now again of below average? We'll just have to see. It'll take us another year or two to know. All the energy this year has been in the Pacific. Look, this year we're 158, where normal is 108 in the Pacific, where in the Atlantic we're only half of normal. Talk about the Pacific. A couple of things to note here. First of all, there's that big dip in the jet stream over the Atlantic, and here's this big area of high pressure over the Pacific, and that's why we keep getting systems to develop there. Here comes the next one. That's the Invest, but that looks like that will be driven offshore, so should miss Cabo San Lucas, and the recovery there can continue. All right, that's it for now. Back to you, Kelly and Paul.
All right, thanks so much, Brian. As part of this summit in New York, the United Nations asked the Weather Channel to develop a forecast for 3 decades from now.
You can check out our video on Twitter. You can also submit questions to us on Twitter. Use the hashtag WXChannel2050.
Currently in our area, 82 degrees with showers. Tonight, variably cloudy with scattered thunderstorms. Low 75. Chance of rain 40%. Tuesday, thunderstorms. High 85. Chance of rain 80%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Rising sea levels, heat waves in the Midwest, and a devastating drought. The Weather Channel answered an international challenge to envision a forecast more than 3 decades into the future. And with the help of an unmatched team of experts, we examine the changing weather of a changing world. Tonight, we show you how that vision came to life.
From the Weather Channel headquarters in Atlanta, you're watching a special edition of Weather Center Live. Weather 2050.
Good evening. It is Climate Week around the world, and tomorrow at the UN, the International Climate Summit will begin. And as a call to action, the World Meteorological Organization challenged media around the world to imagine a forecast for September 23rd, 2050. Our contribution took months to research and create. Here it is.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us. I'm Sam Champion, and welcome to the Weather Channel. It's Friday, September 23rd, 2050. And here's a look at today's top stories. Hurricane Kyle is tracking way offshore, but still, Miami's South Beach is underwater. Will this deadly Chicago heat wave ever end, following a brutal summer with record temperatures? Another town dries up as the mega drought in the Southwest continues. And Destination Arctic Circle, why it's becoming the place to go. Let's get started with Hurricane Kyle and storm tracker Jim Cantori in Miami's South Beach. Jim, wow, no sign of landfall, but you're standing in water.
Hey, Sam. Yeah, Kyle is about 400 miles offshore, and coastal flood warnings have been issued. Tides running about a foot above where they normally would be, and they're expected to go higher. I mean, a storm that's over 400 miles offshore would never be a problem many decades ago. But now that we have sea level rise, even a storm as far as 400 miles offshore can still cause big problems like you see here. I'm standing in 18 inches of water. The tide is going to come up to about here at its worst point, and then the storm is going to begin to move away, and obviously the tides are going to retreat. Let's take a look at the latest statistics that we have on Kyle for you right now. Winds are at 110 miles an hour. It's currently 400 miles east of downtown Miami. It is moving north at 5 miles per hour. Now, it's these northeast winds that are wrapping around the center that are actually pushing the water back into the Florida coastline. That is our problem. The storm will move out to sea, as you can see here from the track, between the Carolinas and Bermuda. So Kyle's expected to remain offshore and not landfall in the United States. That's the good news, but impacts will remain through the weekend. Sam, back to you.
Thanks, Jim Cantore. Now, as Miami deals with flooding, Chicago is feeling the heat. Ironically, this is the first full day of fall, and this is day 5 of triple-digit temperatures. This late-season heat wave puts us on pace for the hottest September on record. If it verifies, it will be the 3rd warmest September in the past 12 years. So let's take a look at the forecast temperatures for today. At Navy Pier, 96 degrees, just a short walk to Michigan Avenue, and the temperature jumps to 99. Willis Tower will top out at 101, and Wrigley Field, 99 degrees. The heat is a huge factor in tonight's Cubs game against Canada's Alberta Clippers. Edmonton, like many northern cities, is one of the fastest growing right now, due in part to the pleasantly mild fall temperatures in the upper 60s. The Cubbies are playing at night to avoid the hottest part of the day, but even so, temperatures at game time will be in the 90s. The mega drought in Arizona has claimed another casualty. Meteorologist Stephanie Abrams joins us with more.
That's right, Sam. The Southwest has become a tough place to live thanks to a drought that's plagued it for much of the last 50 years. Dinshaw, Arizona is the 4th and largest town to go dry in the last 5 years, and it's only going to get worse. This mega drought is about to claim more cities. Redwall, New Mexico, Rayview, New Mexico, and Cramacos, Texas are now on the list. They're all dangerously close to running out of groundwater, Sam.
Thanks, Stephanie. But if there is a plus, some of those dry lake beds are now being used as solar farms. When we come back, a nearly ice-free Arctic this time of year means a whole lot of new industry for cruising and crude oil. And the winner is Anchorage, Alaska. The 2060 Summer Games are set. More on why it's now the perfect host city.
Tonight, as we talk about what 2050 could bring, use the hashtag WXChannel2050 and share your thoughts. Right now, September of 2014, climate is not yet a global concern. Activists, however, who want to raise awareness about our changing planet staged protests and sit-ins today on Wall Street. Yesterday, they paraded through the streets of New York, where the UN will tackle the topic tomorrow. And Sam Champion is there. Hi, Sam.
Hey, Chris, and I am in New York City for Climate Week, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of high expectation here because there's a lot of energy and world focus on the city for this particular event. Yesterday's march, the People's Climate March that was from Columbus Circle all the way through New York City, organizers had expected about 100,000 people to be there. The estimate when I last saw it was 310,000 people. There were worldwide marches that got an awful lot of attention. So Monday's event is Climate Week NYC, sponsored by the Climate Group. This is their 6th year of putting this event together. And what they intend to do is put political leaders and business leaders in one room. They cram them together, and they hope to hammer out some real solutions. What they're looking for are things like Mayor de Blasio of New York City announced this week. They're going to take all the public buildings in New York, and they're going to retrofit them to green technology. So the idea here in this particular event is to have everyone realize that if you go to renewable energy, that's better for your bottom line for businesses and also for governments. Then you roll into Tuesday, and Tuesday is the UN Climate Summit. Now, it's not a real decision making. They're not going to roll out something for people to sign, but it is a part of the process, they say, of getting world leaders together. There's about 125 countries that will be represented, about 120 heads of state, or in that level of heads of state will be here. About 100 businesses will be involved as well. So the whole plan for that is to get people like Ban Ki-moon, and then you've got John Kerry is involved in that, Tim Cook, Richard Branson. So it's bringing politics and business leaders together for a week. This is a big week in climate, and hopefully there'll be some real decisions hammered out.
Thank you, Sam. With all this change we're anticipating, the military already plotting its new course as our national security interests evolve. Tonight, what worries some of our greatest military minds the most?
Plus, the experts behind our 2050 forecast explain the science they used for our futuristic vision, including why focus so much on the rising sea levels. And as we go to break now, a look at the 2050 concepts from some other countries who submitted videos to the UN.
こんにちは。気象予報士の三田寛子です。2050年9月23日の気象情報です。
This is very important in terms of climate change and how it's going to affect us here in South Africa.
This heat wave has now entered the...
Can you start tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Let's share the news tomorrow. Today we're fairly busy. Tomorrow we're booked solid.
We close on the house tomorrow.
Want one of these opened up? Because tomorrow we go live.
It's a day full of promise. And often, that day arrives by train.
Big day today? Even bigger one tomorrow.
When CSX trains move forward, so does the rest of the economy. CSX, how tomorrow moves.
Take a deep breath in and exhale. And a gentle wave-like motion. Liberate your spine.
And reach, toes blossoming.
Not that great at yoga.
Yeah, but when I slipped a disc, he paid my claim in just 4 days.
4 days?
Yep.
Find out how fast Aflac can pay you at Aflac.com.
This week on America's Morning Headquarters, a bucket list destination is on the verge of vanishing. Which one of our national parks is literally evaporating? And we're looking forward to fall, what you can expect this season in your part of the country. It's this week, 7 a.m., the biggest weather hour anywhere, America's Morning Headquarters, following Wake Up with Al.
Currently in our area, 82 degrees with showers. Tonight, variable clouds with scattered thunderstorms. Low, 75. Chance of rain, 50%. Tuesday, thunderstorms. High, 85. Chance of rain, 80%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
On AMHQ.
Let's get you in front of today's weather.
The biggest weather hour anywhere.
What a gorgeous start.
Weekday mornings on the Weather Channel.
In this bag of Gevalia is 150 years of Swedish experience in perfecting the rich, never bitter taste of Gevalia. We do it all for this very experience.
Oh, that's good.
I know, right? Gevalia.
Your baby will feel like dancing when they wake up dry in Pampers. While ordinary diapers have 2 layers, Pampers has 3 absorbent layers, so they stay up to 3 times drier for up to 12 hours of protection and good mornings. Pampers.
When I crave a smoke, that's all I crave. That's where this comes in.
Only Nicorette gum has patented dual-coated technology for great taste. Plus, Nicorette gum gives you intense craving relief.
And that helps put my craving in its place. That's why I only choose Nicorette.
The 6-cylinder, 8-speed Lexus GS with more standard horsepower than any of its German competitors. This is a wake-up call.
Hey, I work for the Weather Channel, and we produced this cool video about what the weather might look like in 2050, the year 2050. What was the oh wow moment for either of you in the video?
I think seeing the southern states just as endangered cities. Yeah. You know, no groundwater. That's really scary.
Wow.
So does this seem realistic to you?
Yeah, why not?
There you go. Surprised at all?
Yes. I worry about this, actually. What do you think we're going to do if this actually truly happens?
Thanks, Stephanie. But if there is a plus...
Scary. What was the biggest oh wow moment for you?
Drought. I mean, people don't have any water. How are we going to live?
Do you think everyone should see this video?
I do. I do. I think they should. It's,
You know, you got to leave some for your future generation. We got to figure out what that is or how to do that.
We want you to join the discussion. Tweet us with the hashtag WXChannel2050 and watch for your comments on the bottom of the screen. Now, Storm Tracker Jim Cantore goes in depth on how our experts came up with the Weather 2050 scenarios.
What will the weather look like 36 years from now? It was a challenge that was put before a small group of international media by the United Nations World Meteorological Organization.
So a team of us here at the Weather Channel looked at international, national, and even city-specific climate projections into the future and used that as a guide to try and represent what that weather might look like in 2050.
More exact, look at the weather for September 23rd, 2050. And we took it very seriously.
We looked at sea level rise, heat waves, and even focused on the drought in the Southwest.
Those are the three areas where we expect climate change to really cause major impacts on people.
And the Southwest has become a tough place to live thanks to a drought that's plagued it for much of the last 50 years.
How did we come up with our scenarios? It was based on peer-reviewed science and not opinion.
And decided, let's take those projections that are usually presented in the form of an average and add the noise on top of it, the day-to-day weather, and present that to people so that they'll see what they might actually be experiencing come 2050.
For example, as far as the heat goes,
by the end of the century, the climate will warm by between 3 and 8 degrees Fahrenheit.
We chose to highlight Chicago.
They're going to be seeing some increased temperatures in the future. Typically now, they get about 5 days a year where the temperature might creep above 95. By 2050, it may be a dozen more than that.
And hurricanes?
It's currently 400 miles east of downtown Miami. It is moving north at 5 miles per hour.
We expect the strongest storms to get stronger. And because sea levels are rising, even if those hurricanes don't hit land, they're still expected to push larger storm surges ashore and cause the kind of flooding that we saw in the video. There won't necessarily be catastrophes every day like maybe you hear about in the news, but there will be ongoing effects that will have significant impacts on people. Hotter heat waves, more intense droughts, and potentially stronger storms.
In the video, today's climate predictions became tomorrow's weather. As those predictions change, so too, 36 years out, could that weather? I'm meteorologist Jim Cantore.
Thank you, Jim. And next, you'll hear from the Weather Channel's foremost experts on tornadoes, hurricanes, and winter storms in 2050. Plus, how the military is already planning its response to a changing planet.
Discover Card. Hey there, I just got my bill, and I see that it includes my FICO credit score.
Yep, you get a free each month to help you avoid surprises with your credit.
Good. I hate surprises.
Surprise! At Discover, we treat you like you'd treat you. Get the IT card and see your FICO credit score.
With Crizal No Glare lenses, neither water, nor scratch, nor smudge, nor glare of night can keep you from the clearest vision possible. And Crizal has ESPF 25 to protect your eyes from the damaging rays of the sun. Crizal. Live life in the clear.
Be one with it, and it will be one with you. Be one with your tires, and the road will be one with you. Hang-up tires.
This new waffle cone is more like an actual sundae.
Yeah, it's like a Sunday.
Yeah, and a waffle cone. Was that too much?
No, I like it.
Go big. The new waffle cone sundaes with real ice cream and premium toppings. This is how you Sonic.
You can search hotel sites for so long that your hair goes out of style. Or use Kayak to search hundreds of hotel sites to find the best deal in seconds. Kayak. Search one and done.
Andrew. Rita. Sandy. Meet Chris. Jackie. Joe. Minor damage or major disaster. When you need us most, we're there. State Farm. We're a force of nature, too.
Give it up for our Season 7 coaches.
I'm going to get this party started.
Do you like fashion? I have 4 clothing lines.
I have 3
When we were at Sandals, we forgot about deadlines and worked on our tan lines. We forgot about time and had the time of our lives. We forgot about counting calories and drank to our heart's content. And since everything at Sandals was included, we completely forgot about money and remembered just how in love we really are.
Time of my life.
Save up to 65%. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
Ready? For the first time ever at Rooms to Go, pick from 100 beautiful rooms, each under $1,000. Picture it, your home fully furnished in your style, with living rooms under $1,000, dining rooms under $1,000, bedrooms under $1,000, 100 stylish options under $1,000. And it gets even better. Finance for $20 or less per month, interest-free. Furnish your home to perfection. Now at Rooms to Go.
That's like 2 dress sizes.
Call 888-623-DIET now.
Every Sunday, a new tale of weather legend. American Supernatural, premiering October 5th on the Weather Channel.
Stay tuned for your local on the 8s, brought to you by ServPro, helping make sure your home and business is ready for whatever happens.
Under the roof of a home or business, damage can happen. When it does, turn to the specialists who put help in the palm of your hand. The Ready App and emergency response plans from 1-800-ServPro, like it never even happened.
Now you can merge the physical freedom of the car with the virtual freedom of Wi-Fi. Chevrolet, the first and only car company to bring built-in 4G LTE Wi-Fi to cars, trucks, and crossovers.
Hi, Mom. You made it.
It's the new independence.
From restoring damage in just one room to an entire building, turn to the cleanup team that's here in your community and here to help at 1-800-ServPro, like it never even happened.
Currently in our area, 80 degrees with light rain. Tonight, variable clouds with scattered thunderstorms. Low 75. Chance of rain 50%. Tuesday, thunderstorms. High 85. Chance of rain 80%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Welcome back to a special edition of Weather Center Live. We've shown you what a typical weather forecast could look like in 2050, but scientists aren't the only ones looking to the future. The Pentagon is making plans of its own. Al Roker is in New York with that part of the story.
As of right now, the military is at the forefront of preparing for a warmer planet, with new waters to patrol due to melting ice and escalating tension at home and abroad as a result of drought and famine. The armed forces are on the front lines protecting the citizens of the United States from new safety threats.
Know in our lifetime that on any given day Mother Nature can break anything built by man. The thing that concerned me is when we go from 7 billion people in the world to 10 billion, which we might be there by 2050.
All of it's linked to water. How do we manage the water? The idea that it's small towns in New Mexico running out of water, is not as alarming as, let's say, Atlanta running out of water. And I could possibly see that.
Inside the United States, the friction that's going to happen among our states You know, like Georgia and Florida and Alabama and out west between California and Nevada. It's going to create a lot of friction as we get those stresses from things like drought.
I got 2 girls in here. Roger.
It's going to be dynamic, and all that, in many cases, will still require military to come in with logistics.
Survivor getting his basket?
And special equipment and communications capacity to help take care of people to save lives.
Does he know of anybody else right here?
I think South Florida will have massive issues. Sea level rise by then. The mid-Atlantic part of Norfolk, Virginia is going to have a real issue as well.
We'll have a decisive role in dealing with saving lives as a result of weather events. Remember, the #1 mission of your military is to protect the people of the United States of America. And being able to survive is a personal responsibility of having food and water, of having the ability to stay informed, and looking out for your neighbors.
One of the men you just heard from, retired Lieutenant General Russell Honore, is not shrinking from his duty to keep our military ahead of the curve despite no longer being on active duty. And we cannot wait until 2050. Chris?
Al, thank you. Now a closer look at the science of climate change. Storm specialist Carl Parker is here to examine the trends and changes that are happening right now. Carl.
Chris, we want to begin with a look at Chicago. In February of this year, it was exceptionally cold, 18 degrees. People were calling it Chiberia, and it had been very cold many days that month. And when it gets really cold like this, people have a harder time believing that the world is getting warmer. We know that from polling. We see it all the time. Now, I want to show you the temperature anomaly, which is to say the difference between the actual temperature and what is typical on that very day, February 27, 2014. It was much colder than average there across Canada and the northern part of the U.S. And we know that these changes are caused by wild swings in the jet stream, and we've actually seen more of that in recent years, and that may be related to climate change. But the larger point I want to show you is the temperature anomalies across Europe and the North Pole at the time, and it was considerably warmer than average through a lot of the northern hemisphere, even as it was colder there in Canada and the U.S. So it's important to look at the much larger trends, and when we do look at the larger trends, the global land and ocean temperature index over many decades, we could see that very clearly there's a trend that's leading upward. These individual variations here related to multi-year climate drivers, most notably El Nino and La Nina, but clearly there's a trend that is up, and even though we're going to get wild swings now and again, Chris, we are most likely going to get warmer temperatures overall.
All right, Carl, thank you very much. Coming up next, the question about hurricanes and tornadoes in 2050. Our experts weigh in.
When your house loses power, it can be tough for your family. But not if your family has a Kohler generator. Restores power automatically in as little as 10 seconds and is backed by a 5-year limited warranty. Kohler generators. Keep your family flowing.
When the power goes out, you'll go on. Contact your Kohler Generators dealer today.
If you have moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis like me, and you're talking to your rheumatologist about a biologic, this is Humira. This is Humira helping to relieve my pain. This is Humira helping me lay the groundwork. This is Humira helping to protect my joints from further damage. Doctors have been prescribing Humira for 10 years. Humira works by targeting and helping to block a specific source of inflammation that contributes to RA symptoms. Humira is proven to help relieve pain and stop further joint damage in many adults.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Take the next step. Talk to your doctor and visit Humira.com. This is Humera at work.
Imagine the luxury of not being here. The power you want with the fuel economy you dream of. Performance with a conscience. This is Volvo, innovating for you.
This is Charlie. His long day of doing it himself starts with back pain and a choice.
Take 4 Advil in a day, or just 2 Aleve for all-day relief.
Honey, you did it!
So, you say men are superior drivers?
Yeah.
Then how'd I get this?
Safe driving bonus check. Every 6 months without an accident, Allstate sends a check. Okay. Silence. Are you in good hands?
Currently in our area, 80 degrees with light rain. Tonight, variable clouds with scattered thunderstorms. Low 75. Chance of rain 50%. Tuesday, thunderstorms. High 85. Chance of rain 80%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Tonight, only the Weather Channel takes you this far. Inside Hurricane Rita. Hurricane 360, tonight at 9 on the Weather Channel.
Welcome back to a special edition of Weather Center Live. Weather 2050. The UN Climate Summit starts tomorrow in New York City. And we take a live look right now at the Empire State Building. It's in green right now for Climate Week. We also hit the streets right here in New York to find out what people think about our 2050 outlook and their future in a changing world.
It's Friday, September 23rd, 2050.
So do you believe that something like this could happen, that there could be a hurricane 400 miles off the coast, you know, and this could happen? Yes, I do. Yeah, does that worry you? Yes, it does. It's horrible. This is very, very real. I know there's areas where people haven't experienced this and they think, oh, this doesn't exist. A hurricane that big, there's no way it can happen. It can happen. And if we don't do anything, it's going to continue getting worse. Why do you think that this will be happening?
Well, I've just seen, I used to live in Alaska, and I've seen that the glaciers have receded tremendously. You know, I don't know why it's happening, but I just know that it's happening.
You know, you have a little one, and you're watching this. He'll be around for 2050.
Yes.
How worried are you about climate change?
I think it's a real issue.
So you think that we could potentially really see this one day?
I think we could see much worse one day. I think that we all have a part and responsibility to the earth, and if we don't take care of it, where will we live?
And now you've seen our report and we've heard your reaction. It's time now for our experts to weigh in. We begin with senior hurricane specialist Brian Norcross. Brian.
Chris, we know that the number of hurricanes goes up and down year by year, and that's a difficult thing to predict. But there's no definitive evidence that climate change is related to that in terms of what we see right now. But when we look to the future, we do see some evidence that the climate and the way it's going to change might have an effect on hurricanes in the year 2050. Here are a few of the things that we think we know. First of all, we think we know that the oceans are going to get warmer. And a warmer ocean, we think, will contribute to more storms. So we put 2 pluses there, indicating that will be a significant influence on an increasing favorability for the development of hurricanes. Now, another thing we think we know is that the overall atmosphere is going to get warmer. You might think that that would also encourage more hurricanes to develop, but we think not. We think that would be a negative because it's actually the contrast between the warm ocean and cooler air aloft in the atmosphere that tends to increase development of hurricanes. So we have 1x there, indicating a somewhat negative factor. Now, another thing that we think will occur is an increase in upper level winds dipping down into the tropics, and we think that would be a significant negative influence on the number of storms developing in the tropics. So when you add all that up, here's the bottom line. A double plus for the warmer ocean, a single X for the warmer atmosphere, and a double X for the stronger upper level winds. So the net of all that, we think the indications are fewer but stronger hurricanes. Because when the conditions all come together, you have that warmer ocean to fuel a stronger storm. But we have to say it's still quite uncertain because there are other factors. For instance, in a warmer atmosphere, you may well get much more cloudiness, and how that will interact with those other factors is still unknown. The climate models are not certain on that. All right, that's somewhat uncertain, but what is much less uncertain is storm surge. And here's Michael Lowry with that.
Hey, Brian, that's right. One thing we know for sure is that sea level is rising on the order of about 4 to 8 inches over the past century. Now, locally, along stretches of the U.S. coastline, it's even higher than that. Take, for example, New York City and the waters surrounding lower Manhattan. We know that the waters have come up, the sea level at least has come up about a foot since 1900, which may not seem like a whole lot, but think back to Superstorm Sandy in 2012 and the devastation that it wrought on parts of New Jersey into New York City. You hear Battery Park City from the financial district to the Lower East Side, even points along the East River. That was a lot of flooding, record flooding for this area. Now, Sandy's track in its size may have been unusual, but it as a storm wasn't. We've had hurricanes impact that same area over the past 100 years, including Donna in 1960, Irene in 2011, even a non-tropical winter storm in 1992, all brought storm surge to this same area. It just wasn't as severe as it was with Sandy. But if you raise the base level of the sea by a foot or two, which is being forecast by the government for 2050, then all of a sudden you're putting underwater key infrastructure, roads and tunnels, even major airports like LaGuardia here for those exact same storms. So regardless of what happens to the storms in those environments, we can expect worse storm surge in 2050 coming up here. And it's almost like taking the floor of a basketball court and you raise the floor by 3 feet, the 10-foot goal becomes 7 feet, and all of a sudden everyone's slam dunking. Now that's the sea levels as they're coming up, Tom, but at the same time the ice is melting.
Well, absolutely, Michael. That increase in global temperatures is going to have effect on winter. One of the areas we can go to is the Great Lakes region, which, by the way, exert a tremendous influence on winter across the U.S. every single year. Let's give you an example here. We're going to take a look at a fully ice-covered Lake Superior as an example in the first week of March, and this is what we'll see right now. By mid-century, with those rise in temperatures, we may be seeing more of a lake like this with very little ice cover. Now, there's going to be pluses and minuses on the impacts here. On the plus side, we could see a rise in commercial shipping. It's going to start earlier. We'll have a longer season. In fact, we may even see recreational boating start a little earlier each season. But as Carl Parker pointed out just a while ago, in amongst these trends like decreasing ice cover we see on the Great Lakes, we could have rapid fluctuations from year to year. Just last year, as an example, on the Great Lakes, we actually had the second highest ice cover in recorded history. The upshot of all this, society has to be prepared for both the trends and these huge fluctuations that we may see in the climate pattern on a regional scale. We have to be prepared and continued our research. And now we're going to go from winter over to tornadoes and heavy rain events with Dr. Greg Forbes. Greg?
And we really don't know how tornadoes respond to climate change. Our database just isn't good enough to tell us. Here's what some of that data looks like. For the weak tornadoes, they don't do a whole lot of damage. We've seen dramatic increases in the number of reported tornadoes over the decades, but we don't think this is real. We think it's due to increases in digital cameras and internet to report some of those tornadoes. When we get to tornadoes that have caused damage, we don't see that increase. If anything, perhaps a slight downward trend. So the jury is still out on tornadoes. We do expect the amount of heavy rain events and flooding events to increase as the atmosphere warms and moistens, and the data do show something like that. The area here has increased of these heavy rain events on a daily basis from originally about 10. It's gone up about 50% since the 70s and 80s, and so we think those heavy rain events are going to go up with some flooding. Now, in terms of longer term, we think there could be some general drying in the lower latitudes and then some general moistening by seasons up in the northern latitudes as the jet stream goes north. In summer, a lot of the U.S. perhaps a little bit drier, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't have some of these local heavy rain events that even give flash flooding, and with those local heavy rain events, some local damaging wind events as well. So some of the extremes could increase. Chris?
Thank you very much, Dr. Forbes. And every one of our Weather Channel experts will be sticking around to take your questions. We're going to respond to your criticism and concerns. In fact, one viewer wants to know if he should move now before a scene like this takes out his home in the future. And this is Climate Week, and we want to take a live look at New York City where this is happening. The UN Climate Summit starts tomorrow here, and the Empire State Building is lit up in green for Climate Week. Weather 2050 continues with our experts here on Weather Center Live coming up.
Currently in our area, 80 degrees under cloudy skies. Tonight, variable clouds with scattered thunderstorms. Low 75. Chance of rain 50%. Tuesday, thunderstorms. High 85. Chance of rain 80%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Presenting luxurious savings at Ace.
What?
Save $7 instantly now through Sunday on gallons of Valspar Optimus, our most premium paint.
Ace is a place to help the hardware folks.
The General is not your grandma's car insurance company. Check us out. At The General, you can get affordable car insurance online or over the phone in just minutes, regardless of your driving record. The down payment and monthly payments are low, and you choose your due date. Get an anonymous free quote now. For a great low rate you can get online, go to The General and save some time.
Andrew, Rita, Sandy. Meet Chris, Jackie, Joe. Minor damage or major disaster. When you need us most, we're there. State Farm. We're a force of nature, too.
The
There once was a hungry road that ate up tires, wearing down tread and wearing out safety. Then along came the Michelin Man, who got drivers back on the road with safety that lasts. Find your tire at MichelinMan.com. Michelin, a better way forward.
The 6-cylinder, 8-speed Lexus GS, with more standard horsepower than any of its German competitors. This is a wake-up call.
It's Monday, a brand new start. Your chance to rise and shine. With CenturyLink as your trusted technology partner, you can do just that. With our visionary cloud infrastructure, global broadband network, and custom communication solutions, your business is more reliable, secure, agile, and with responsive, dedicated support, we help you shine every day of the week. CenturyLink, your link to what's next.
Sir, we're going to need you on the runway.
TheraFlu starts to get to work in your body in just 5 minutes. TheraFlu breaks you free from your worst cold and flu symptoms. TheraFlu, serious power.
Okay, Patrick, one more stop. Let's go base, shark, blitz. Base, shark, blitz.
When the game's on the line.
Okay, this is for the game.
The NFL trusts Duracell Quantum to power their game day communication.
Flag 19's on. Abort, he's keeping it.
Duracell Quantum lasts up to 35% longer than the competition.
This is a pip.
It's part of a Hershey's bar.
We break it.
We bite it.
We sneak it.
We smush it. We savor it.
We love it.
Hershey's is mine. Yours.
Our chocolate.
It doesn't cost more to deal with climate change. It costs more to ignore it and to put our head in the sand and continue down this road of obfuscation and avoidance.
It's accepted by all but just very few that the business community has a fundamental role in working with government and helping to build a strong, low-carbon economy.
That was Sam Champion and Secretary of State John Kerry speaking at Climate Week today. And this is a special edition of Weather Center Live, Weather 2050. And I'm joined in studio by our experts right now. And we also want to get our viewers involved in the discussion. And we're using the hashtag WXChannel2050 on Twitter. And we're going to start right now with a critical statement. And there are a few tweets like this we've been seeing. This one reads, climate change is still a theoretical idea with no concrete data to support it. Mother Nature continues to disprove it. And we're going to start with Carl, who's going to discuss the science that's used for this. But Carl, first, a couple of questions for you. When you hear a statement like that, what is your reaction? And then, how do you respond?
Well, you know, the science is very solid, and we really have to defer to climate scientists on this question. And there have been multiple studies showing what climate scientists believe, and we can show you a few of those studies. And they all indicate that the vast majority of climate scientists do believe in the central tenets of what is called AGW, anthropogenic climate change or global warming. That means human-caused global warming. And so the overwhelming majority of climate scientists believe this. And the thing that really strikes me about this is the fact that scientists are generally conservative when they're putting out their findings. And also the scientific process is a really rigorous process. And I know you know all about this.
Yeah, scientific publications go through a review process with independent external reviewers, anonymous reviewers that look at that. They're critical. If they say that this doesn't make sense, it does not get published.
Yeah, absolutely. I think many of us up here have gone through that peer-reviewed research where we submit a paper, the paper goes through that review by a number of scientists that are experts in the field, and it doesn't go out until it comes back and our scientific process is proven. Exactly.
Yeah, I can tell you I've had almost as many rejected as I've had accepted papers. Yeah.
So the bottom line is you have to say, okay, let's say it's not 100% certain, but since the effect is potentially cataclysmic, how likely does it have to be before you take action, right? When something is really bad, Even if it's 50%, if it's 40%, you still have to take action. And that's why there's such a press to take action.
It's really a matter of risk management. That's what you're talking about, just being smart about it. Yeah.
All right, let's stay down here for the next question. And the next question on Twitter is from Miguel Ortiz. And he asks, should I stay in coastal Florida long-term or should I move? And this is for Senior Hurricane Specialist Brian Norcross and Storm Surge Specialist Michael Lowry. At least you get to start the discussion.
Okay, well, here's the bottom line point is that the biggest threat in coastal Florida exists today, and that's a big storm coming at the coast. And all that's going to happen in the future is that threat is going to go up. That doesn't mean that people should move away from the coast today, but the leaders on the coast, the residents on the coast, everybody has to know that they are under significant threat today. Right? And it's only going to get worse as the sea level rises. And of course, we're not 100% sure that the sea level is going to rise, but we are confident it will rise.
Yeah, what I would say, Chris, is if you got a 30-year mortgage, just be prepared. If you're not in the floodplain now, sea level rise could mean that in 30 years you will be in a floodplain. So you may not be required to have flood insurance right now. And you could, for some people, they can barely afford the mortgage. And on top of that, add $1,000 a month for flood insurance. That's a big deal. And it's already hitting a lot of people in my home state of Louisiana, in southeast Louisiana, that are now being faced with having to have flood insurance.
And there's a looming insurance crisis for that reason, and a lot of people are actually going without flood insurance when they live on the coast right now.
So we're already seeing these consequences.
All right, any final thoughts?
Bottom line is that action is required because the threat is high. That's the issue. The threat is there. That's really the concern.
Better to be safe than sorry.
There was a new report from the Global Commission on Economy and Climate. They estimated that $90 trillion would be spent on infrastructure in the next 15 years, and that an additional $4 trillion is what it would take to rapidly scale up the initiatives that we need to fight this problem, and $9 billion is going to be given in oil subsidies.
All right, there is a lot to think about. Thank you very much. We're also thinking about the daily weather. And when we come back, we have the tropical update. Senior Hurricane Specialist Brian Norcross will be back with that.
Awesome! I've been Claritin Clear for 8 days.
At the first sign of your allergies, doctors recommend taking one Claritin every day of your allergy season for continuous relief.
21 days. 14 days of continuous relief.
Live Claritin Clear every day.
Get relief with Claritin. Live Claritin Clear.
Sweet, spicy, savory. Red Lobster's Endless Shrimp is now the year's largest variety of shrimp flavors, like our coconut shrimp bites or our creamy shrimp Alfredo. As much as you like, any way you like. Hurry in and see food differently.
This October,
When the wind blows.
the Weather Channel unravels nature's darkest secrets.
I saw something. I don't know how to explain it.
Every Sunday,
It's a story that's got a life of its own.
a new tale of weather legend.
It may have just looked like a storm, but they were dealing with something far worse.
American Supernatural. Premiering October 5th on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 80 degrees under cloudy skies. Tonight, variable clouds with scattered thunderstorms. Low, 75. Chance of rain, 50%. Tuesday, thunderstorms. High, 85. Chance of rain, 80%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Edward Jones, this is Shirley speaking. How may I help you? Oh, hey Neil, how are you? How was the trip?
With nearly
nearly 7 million investors,
He's right here. Hold on one second.
you'd expect us to have a highly skilled call center.
Kevin, Neil Hawley's on line 1.
Okay, great. And we do. It's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing.
Now you can merge the physical freedom of the car with the virtual freedom of Wi-Fi. Chevrolet, the first and only car company to bring built-in 4G LTE Wi-Fi to cars, trucks, and crossovers.
Hi, Mom. You made it.
It's the new independence.
Welcome to NoMoreRack.com. We have hundreds of items every day at up to 90% discounts, all online. Home goods.
When you compare the top speed of DSL from the phone company with the top speed of Comcast Business Internet, well, there's really no comparison. Why pay more for less? Call today for a low price on speeds up to 150 megabits per second and find out more about our 2-year price guarantee. Comcast Business, built for business.
Hey, Jennifer's Mike, Trooper Money Slang. Aw, scram.
I'm Chris Mike, Jubby Robon, Shall gonna lead up in Kisbet.
Peace Charity, get town down.
For a liver, toothpaste, dummy way.
Papa should be still in her first.
Sex and Nene.
But I'm ahead, Maxis Gar and jump a left, flip a down.
Rona Brood.
What?
Catch up on what everyone's talking about with the X1 Entertainment Operating System, preloaded with the latest episodes of the top 100 shows. Only from Xfinity.
We are going to get to the tropical update with Senior Hurricane Specialist Brian Norcross in a moment. However, we are continuing the discussion right now with another question from a viewer about the future, about 2050 and the weather. And this question is regarding tornadoes. And simply, will there be more tornadoes? Will we have more tornadoes in the future? And no one better to answer this question than Dr. Forbes, our severe weather expert.
Well, the answer is we really don't know. The data, our historical data, the database is not good enough to tell us. And then if you consider alternatively the physical processes that you need to get tornadoes, even there's a competition. You need warm, moist, unstable air to make the thunderstorms. We know we'll have more of that. But the wind shear that you need to get those thunderstorms to rotate, that may go down as the jet stream actually migrates farther into the northern latitude. So the jury is still out even there in terms of how tornadoes will respond. We do think, though, in the summer months with that more warmth and moisture, those pop-up thunderstorms that go up, get top heavy, they'll come crashing down with flash flooding and local damaging winds that will probably increase.
And with the jet stream going north, could that just mean that the threat goes farther north?
Yeah, the pattern could shift. We could see less in the Gulf Coast states and more up in the northern plain states. That's certainly a possibility.
All right, our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes. Let's go now into the lab with Senior Hurricane Specialist Brian Norcross, because at 50 past the hour here on the Weather Channel means it's time for the tropical update. Brian.
All right, let's take a look at what's going on in the tropics as we head for fall. Of course, we're only about 3 hours away from fall now, and that means we tend to look in different parts of the Atlantic. But we still can have systems coming off of Africa. So here's Africa out here. But what we have going here is this dip in the jet stream and a strong river of air there. And you notice that system right there, that was the last one to come off of Africa, just getting ripped apart. So that's pretty much shut down. And this satellite is a European satellite that we use to look at that part of the Atlantic. Now let's go over to our side of the Atlantic, and here, look what we see here, this big dip in the jet stream here, and so that's putting strong winds over the Gulf of Mexico, and that's keeping anything from developing over on our side of the world. So right now the Atlantic is pretty unfavorable. As we put those two satellites together, there you see the seam right there. Here's what we see. We have this big dip out here that's making it all unfavorable and a big block in the middle of the Atlantic, even though there's a little bit of a slight favorable window there. If a system were just to thread the needle just right, it might survive, but then it would run into this wall and this very unfavorable flow pattern here over the Gulf of Mexico. Now, as we look ahead a week, let's go all the way to next Monday. Here's what the models are indicating. Generally, an unfavorable flow for development over the eastern Atlantic. Maybe, again, a little tiny window of favorability, but a shift in the Gulf to somewhat somewhat favorable conditions, so that's where we're going to watch as we get to that point. Of course, we know that this year has not been very active, and we measure the activity in the Atlantic by the ACE. That's the accumulated cyclone energy, and there you see 2014. It's low. It's not as low, actually, as we were last year at this point or some other years in the past, but it is definitely a lower year. The average there, 72 this year. We're half of average in terms of the amount of energy that Mother Nature has generated. We're at 36. But what we know is that in the Eastern Pacific, it's been busy. Look, 158 this year compared to 108 as you add up the duration and strength of the storms. And why is that? Here's the water vapor again. Now we're looking at Mexico and the U.S. And look at there's that dip in the jet stream over the Gulf of Mexico, making it unfavorable there. But look at it over Mexico. Look, the jet stream is well to the north, and we have high pressure in here. So that's creating an environment that's generally more favorable and also creating steering up off the Mexican coast, as we've seen with storm after storm. And guess what? That happened with Polo. It moved on offshore, and now it's dying out. It's just a remnant. And we have the next one in the series there. This one tonight is called Invest 9E. It'll almost certainly be a tropical depression tomorrow. It's in that same pattern, flowing kind of offshore and paralleling the Mexican coast. The National Hurricane Center calling for a 90% chance of Polo developing into a tropical depression. Good chance that'll happen tomorrow. The area for development, again, is just like the last, but maybe a little offshore. We do not see this currently as a threat to Baja California, but we can't absolutely rule that out. That's it on the tropics. Back to you, Chris.
Brian, thank you. And thank you for watching a special edition of Weather Center Live Weather 2050. And I want you to know that this conversation will continue online with an extended edition of our expert roundtable and on Twitter with the hashtag WXChannel2050. And we leave you with a look at Weather 2050 submissions from countries asked to participate in the week's Climate Summit. On behalf of all of our experts, Carl Parker, Dr. Greg Forbes, Tom Nizzle, and Michael Lowry, we want to thank you for watching. And from all of us at the Weather Channel, thank you. I'm Chris Warren.
Climate change is affecting the weather everywhere.
The type of precipitation is changing into more extreme events.
Nu, dat deed het al de voorbije 100 jaar met 18 centimeter.
When you combine a stronger typhoon with higher sea levels, we're looking at even more destruction after we're hit by a storm.
Tonight, variable clouds with scattered thunderstorms. Low, 75. Chance of rain, 50%. Tuesday, thunderstorms. High, 85. Chance of rain, 80%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Meteorologist Kim Cunningham. We want to show you some of the active weather around the country before Hurricane 360 starts here on the Weather Channel. Right now we're looking at southern Florida where heavy rain continues to come down. We're catching a little bit of a break north of Fort Myers, but some storms now in central Florida as well. We've even had some reports of over 3 inches of rainfall just west of Melbourne. So a soggy day, a soggy evening, a way to end here summer in Florida. Looking at some thunderstorms, even southwest of Jacksonville, even heavy rain around Charleston. We've had flash flood warnings up for a while just to the west of the city. Berkeley, Charleston, also Dorchester County under flash flood warnings. Looks like it's starting to weaken a little bit, but we've already seen over 3 inches of rain, so watch out for that flash flooding. Also, storms continue here in New Mexico with isolated areas getting flash flooding even north of El Paso. Hurricane 360 starts right now on the Weather Channel. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hurricane
Hurricane Sandy, a killer superstorm, powers winds and water up to 14 feet high into New York City.
Go indoors and stay there until further notice.
Follow the path of destruction from inside the storm, block by block and minute by minute.
The water pulled me out into the street. It was like hell.
From the savage shores of Brooklyn.
Something under the water hit me. I was completely submerged.
To the unprecedented flooding of lower Manhattan.
It was the worst flooding we ever saw in this system.
To the mayhem on Staten Island, where a woman is sucked out of her home along with her husband and daughter.
The water's up to my chin. I'm watching houses spin. I'm watching houses turn upside down.
Experience the most dangerous hurricanes on the planet, as if you were there, caught in the eye of the storm. This is Hurricane 360. Brooklyn, New York, October 29th, 2012, 6:30 p.m. As Hurricane Sandy approaches, the repair and emergency response team at New York City's Coney Island Signal Facility makes final preparations. The site includes a terminal that services 4 major New York subways and is situated near the largest elevated metro system in North America. It's also located just 3 blocks from the famous Coney Island Beach and Boardwalk, which is already getting hammered by Sandy's vicious winds and waves.
All of a sudden, we started seeing water come in from under the doorway, actually coming into the office. So we said, okay, it's a little bit worse than we thought.
Within seconds, 8 inches of salt water seep into the facility, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop. They realize they need to evacuate.
We tried the main office door, the front door. We tried to move it, and it wouldn't even budge.
It wasn't moving because of the outside water pressure. You know, I checked the temperature at the door, and I realized the water must have been almost shoulder height for me on the outside of the door.
The rising stormwater is turning the facility into a death trap.
So then we were trying to figure out how we were going to get out.
24 hours earlier, on October 28th, 2012, Sandy roars up the east coast of the United States from the Caribbean. Most hurricanes turn out to sea when they move as far north as New York. But this storm veers left and merges with a nor'easter, a cold low-pressure system powered by the northern jet stream. Hurricane Sandy is now a superstorm. October 29th, 2012, 5 p.m.